Oh, hold on. Do it again. Go ahead.
You asked for it, you get it. Ryu and I will rip your photos into smithereens. Hold on to your headphones. Here comes the pain.
The pain. Yeah, well, you know, the pain. We were just talking about a lot of stuff beforehand. It would be like, wouldn't it be good like if we can actually both get a rental of the mirrorless, so Nikon, and then we get to test it, we get to shoot it, we get to talk about it. I was just thinking about that, you know.
Yeah,
I
I don't
want to see
know.
if I can actually like, yeah, it'll be
I'm friends with
interesting.
some Nikon people on Facebook, and it's really funny because I post pictures of like these crazy things that I do with the cameras and like risking breaking them and shooting in mud and dust and all that. And I always think, oh yeah, this would be like a really good example of what their gear can do. And then I just see these stupid fashion pictures or whatever that they put out and it's like, oh, look what the D5 can do. And it's like, that's not what the D5 can do.
That's always weird, no? I always actually find that like, because I think the professional level body, the D series, the D single digit ones, it really should be for like, you know, mud, dust, you know, yeah, all that kind of stuff, like fast frames per second, all that kind of that should be it. And like, yeah, the example shots, like, yeah, this is like, you know, fashion show. This is like a model shoot. And it's like, no, that's not what. No, that's not what. Then you can just get a D850 or whatever. You know, it's like this is strange.
I don't get it.
I don't really get it. All right. Anyway, what we do get is that we are going to talk about your photos, and then we will, I don't know, yeah, tell you how bad it is. Usually not how good it is, because if it's very, very good, we won't even talk about it. Funnily, by the way, like I just want to actually add something before we start. I saw something on Petapixel like a week ago that they're going to like start this app, this new app, where you submit your photos and people are going to critique it anonymously, which I thought, well, doesn't really that doesn't. I think the point of actually, if you are critiquing someone's photo, I think it's very important who's critiquing it.
It's critical. It's like the only thing.
So now that it's anonymous, people can just say shit about your photo and like, you don't even know like who they are. So
it's important. It doesn't have to be me or you. It doesn't have to be somebody who's a photo editor, but it should really be somebody who has some kind of experience and accomplishments. And I don't know, because you look at, I wrote a whole post about this. You look at people's pictures on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, Flickr, and you see, oh my God, this picture is amazing. And meanwhile, it's just the most basic two guys in a ball picture that there ever is. And this is what we're doing, except now we're touting it as a way to get critiques, not just a way to share your pictures. That seems ridiculous because there's so few people who know how to do this, and it's getting smaller all the time. Like the set of people who can look at a picture and tell you what's good or bad about it or what you should do next or whatever, that set is getting smaller and smaller and smaller every day. And the idea of having that be anonymous, what's the benefit that the person who's doing the critiquing doesn't have to put their name on criticism? That's a joke to me.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. Oh, and like, sorry, I have another thing. I was gonna write something about it on the blog or Facebook or Instagram, but probably just like probably a good place to start. I've seen a lot of pictures, like for me, it's football, you know, or I guess like climbing or whatever that I'm actually shooting these days. And no, this is actually more to do with football. There are, these like football blogs type of Instagram accounts. So they basically like post stuff from different places, or they basically like use someone's photo, whoever, shot that particular match. And the photographers that are actually there aren't sports photographers. So they're like, they do something else and they actually go and shoot. I have absolutely no problem whatsoever if the photos are good. But these guys who's got like whatever, 50,000, 60,000, whatever, like a lot of followers on Instagram, and most of their portfolio isn't sports. And really, most of it's okay, something really like great. But their sports photos are really, really bad. but then these, Instagram accounts would actually use them because that person, I guess, has a lot of followers.
Yeah.
And it really makes me just sad because like the fact that like people are like looking at these thinking like, oh, this guy shot something in black and white or converted black and white, and this is it. Like that's it. There's nothing more to the actual image other than that. And yeah, like I just don't like I understand, but like it's really, really bad. Like that's gonna be the standard from now on.
It
Like
definitely is.
yeah, like you're gonna get a photographer who's not even a sports photographer shoot
Yeah.
these things and then basically say, hey, look how cool it is that
Right.
this guy's shooting sports. And at the same time, it's like they're not very, very good.
Right. Well, you're gonna have to get used to that. And we're doing a podcast in like 3 days or something. I don't know why we're doing this here, but
yeah, sorry.
So I don't shoot the NFL anymore because it's just a joke. Like the sidelines and how many people are down there and the access and all of that is just not conducive to me doing my best work. So I would rather stay home and watch football than go out and shoot it. But I was talking to one of my friends who still does, and he was talking about how the NFL is now sending people who are not even photographers. Like they're not even pretending, they just go there with a phone and their job is to Instagram and Snapchat or whatever, just like everything that's going on during the game day. And the funny thing is that that person is more valuable to the NFL than any of us are, because they're getting instant use of those pictures where people are. And if the viewers don't care if the pictures are good or not, and it doesn't matter that the pictures aren't good, right? They're just getting out there. People are looking at them. It's generating traffic and follows and whatever for the NFL, and probably these other leagues will follow suit as well. So, it is going to be a thing. And, there is something to be said for, like a fan's eye view of what it's like to be there, because then you're kind of selling the experience of being at the game rather than just the action, which the action ends up looking a lot like what's on TV, but the behind the scenes stuff, and if you're shooting with a phone, is going to look more like what it is to be at the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if those people are any good at not necessarily photography, but showing what the experience of the game is. That might result in more people going to the games.
Yeah. I don't really mind like if that's the case, but I'm actually talking about people who are actually on the pitch shooting.
It's all the same.
Because it's
whatever is better, right? But whatever is better for the league is what they're going to do, and it just they have their professionals or whatever, and you're not going to see camera phone pictures in the ads or whatever, or on the team's websites as header images or something. But I don't know. I just think you pay somebody a few $100 to run around or have an intern do it or whatever with a camera phone, and that is more valuable to the teams than great pictures.
No. That's sad. All right. Okay. Let's go with this. This is by Toin. I shot something like this like 2 days ago. I think the cardinal rule for me is that if you're doing this kind of a stadium shot with the pitch itself, there has to be something happening on the pitch. That's for me. I just cannot shoot a wide angle shot like this and not have anything happening. Because to me, that doesn't make any sense. Even like if it's an overwhelmingly like, I don't know, great atmosphere, the clouds and the crowd or whatever, if it's really wide angle stuff, I just cannot not have something happening on the pitch. Because to me, like it really feels like there's nothing,
It's so you look at the players and it's just not crisp enough. Like it looks like they're out of focus. Even it looks like the focus is on the stadium, and maybe it wasn't like a wide enough depth of field to get the players in focus. So it looks soft because of that, and because it's not good action. It doesn't work. Like it's nice that the stadium was designed like this, but this is a picture that you get like during the opening ceremonies or something like it. There's nothing specific that makes it good to have a wide angle shot like this, where there's nothing going on. There should be either nothing on the field or there should be like the flags or whatever they do before the game. But you know, if you're going to have people in it, the people need to be doing something interesting, or they need to be arranged in an interesting way. And having them this small and being swallowed up by the stands in the background, it doesn't deliver. Like, the first thing you see is the blue sky, and then you see, oh, that's the opening of the stadium, and then your eye comes down, and it's like, okay, well, you know, that's cool how he composed it. Like, the outlines of the picture are okay, but it's just the content. You know, it's just like, what is the sport and what's happening here doesn't deliver on any of the other stuff. And so what do you have? A picture of a stadium that somebody else designed and somebody else built, and you're not really adding anything to it at all.
And we move on. I wish I can find where it is supposed to be. Sorry, it's just a lot of... Oh, wait, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. All right. I need to close the door, Matt. So can you start talking about this? It's by Torian as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is fine. It's so when you're going for emotion, you want the most emotion. This doesn't seem like that, right? It seems like either right before this or right after this, there was something more. Maybe not. Maybe this is the extent of this guy's emotions or whatever. So for that, it's fine. I like how his hands are symmetrical on his face like that. And I like how the light is hitting, you know, that part of his knuckles and then not part of his hands, because all of that kind of provides like a point of focus. So you have, you know, his face, which is darker, and then his hands, which are lighter. So I like all of that. If, you know, and that's all fine. Like, you executed all of that fine. You noticed, hopefully you noticed the way his hands are, because that's what I noticed. The emotion isn't good enough. So it's not your fault, but you need to recognize that when you're going for emotion, it needs to really be emotion. Or then you need to just make the picture about the hands and the face, and then you're cropping it all the way in.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We have a lot to go through, so I'm not going to actually spend. Yeah, and this is Reed, and I like this one.
It's fine. I think that when you're arranging a picture like this, you have to look at these in the bottom, like these branches sticking out. That's distracting to me, and I don't know. I would have been somewhere where I could have composed around those.
You could go a bit closer, I guess. No, like, I don't know how far those branches actually are in front of him.
Yeah, it looks like he would have been standing on more of a slope or something like that. It looks like it goes straight down to the road, but I don't know. I would have
cut it.
I would have done anything to get those out of there, because you're already fighting like the cracks in the pavement, which makes it look. These are nitpicks. Like this, if we're going back to where Reed was a couple of years ago and where he is now, there's no contest, right? He's doing much better work now. But these tiny little details are important. So if you're already battling, you know, not quite as picturesque of a road, like this isn't blacktop, and it's not, you know, there's no yellow line going down, like those things would have made it better. Like if it was blacktop and a yellow line, that would have given it like some contrast and, you know, kind of like another element to the picture. But it's not. It's just, you know, whatever this is made out of, and it's cracked, and then you have the branches in front of it. It makes it look sloppy, and it just seems like you could have gone somewhere to get that out of there.
One thing I noticed right now is that had this been a bit more of an angle, so basically you're facing a bit more with the rider, like rather than actually like taking this from like really from the side, because you're using that curve as well, that you could actually kind of like make it so that the riders actually gradually get smaller as you kind of back off, and it would have been actually be a nice effect to it. The small things, I mean, like it's one of those things. So like, I mean, we're going to keep on saying it because it's very, very important that we do. That small details really does matter when things are basically almost perfect. And this really is sports photography in the sense is that you basically have to do or get what you can get with what you have. And if you are, you know, very, I don't know, aware of what's going on, and those like small imperfections, if you could actually see them before, I'm sure like you've actually decided to stay here and actually wait for the writers to come. And if you've already seen it, then you have to like start thinking like, where can I actually go so that these small imperfections are not in my photos. I mean, you literally can actually go and like chop stuff up, with a knife or whatever, and like cut things down if that needs to be, because it's just, a couple of branches here and there. And those things you have to do, to actually like make sure like everything is absolutely perfect. So small details.
Yeah, I mean, like just shooting cycling like this, like I've done it, and part of it is driving through the course and figuring out where the light's going to be and the angles, and if they're grouped in a peloton or if there's a breakaway or something like that. I look at this and it's like all the work that went into figuring out where to be and what time and all of that, and then having those branches there is just, that's heartbreaking. Like you have to pay attention to that stuff while you're shooting. Every single little thing like that matters. Yeah, the light's just in the wrong place. When you look at this picture, at best, like the best you're going to hope for, the person seeing it first is the fist, right? Because that's the lightest area of him. But really you're going to see the jersey because there's way more light coming off of that than his fist. And the part where you want the light to be, which is on his head, at least a little bit, is not. And if it was all dark and it was like a super subtle kind of picture where, it was like moody and you could tell that it was dark or whatever, then that would be okay. But when you have big white areas on, a shirt and on part of his fist, but then his whole head is in the dark, the picture doesn't make sense at that point. You're just asking somebody's brain to fill in too many details and to minimize the shirt and maximize his face. And it's not enough. It's not enough. Like he would have needed to be pointing in a different direction.
I want to like it, but I think it's just, like Matt said, like I just cannot like it when the overwhelming thing that I see is the shirt, and I want to look at the fist, but my eyes goes to the shirt, and that is kind of a no. And when you have a picture like this, you kind of have to like ask yourself, like, does it make sense looking at it? It's like, okay, it does, it doesn't, it does. Okay, where are my eyes going? And I was like, oh yeah, it's actually going towards the shirt. Does it really bother me? I said yes. And you have to say, okay, well, better luck next time, It's one of those things that like you kind of have to ask yourself whether or not something works or not. And you kind of have to trust your own eyes. Because in most cases, like people kind of react similarly to like composition and color and brightness and all that kind of stuff. And like if what you're trying to show, which is like more so the fist than the shirt, then it's just a bit of a, it's just kind of unfortunate that he was wearing white that day, and it just kind of goes that way, So
I just, when you're in a situation where the light is like this and you have that nice dark background, everything, like for me, I'm paying attention to which way people are facing. When you have directional light like this, I'm kind of mentally filtering out everything that's going the wrong way and sitting on the things that are going the right way. And you just have to make a decision at that point that you don't need every picture. You need to take advantage of the situation that you're in, which is really nice directional light. And you have to be ready for when they're facing the right way, not when they're facing the wrong way.
What's this?
This is a throwaway.
This sucks. There's nothing happening. So I don't think we have to get into it, because Simon should know at this point. It kind of reminds me of that photo that won the press photography thing, but like that work, because there is literally nothing happening in that fixture. There's nothing happening but the
breath or whatever.
Yeah. That's it.
Right. So yeah, this one is like the next level down from that, where you don't even have that
Yeah.
detail. Like I don't want to just skim over this because I think Simon knows what we're talking about, but I don't think everybody else does. So what we're talking about is that, look at the way that the ref is walking. Look at the way the guy who's standing up in yellow on the left is like, they're telling you this isn't really all that important, right? The body language of the people who aren't doing it are telling you. It's like when we have pictures where the fans are looking at their phone or something like that in the background, like they're taking away from what you're doing. To me, the cool part of this picture is the people who are sitting upstairs under those lights or something. I would want to see them incorporated some way, but they're too small and they're actually detracting from the darkness of the way this is framed. And you have no separation between the guys who are in the scrum and the background, because it's like, even though the focus is where it should be, the colors just bleed all into each other. So you're too far away, it's too wide, there's nothing going on, and you don't have the separation of, there's no depth. Like all the colors just run together, and then that big light is just all by itself up in the air, and it's distracting, because what's over there? Oh, it's just a light. So yeah, this is just straight up throwaway.
As we go on. Oh. Can I click this? There you go. Yeah, it's fine. It's like I think it's like maybe we don't really have that many water related stuff, but this is really good. It's fine. It's absolutely, this is how it should be done. It's great.
Yeah, I don't like the crop. I don't like, it's like what is this, 4x5, and it's also too loose because I don't need any of it. I need a little bit of the water coming off of his hand. I need his hand, his face, the ball, the other hand, and the water coming off the other hand. So this is a 2x3, and it's the top 2/3 of the picture, right? So just hold your hand along the bottom of the frame, completely block out the guy who's chasing after him, and then tell me whether that's a better picture or not.
I want to see what the original thing was. Like, was it like, how wide was it? And like, what was actually, in it, because like, I like the water on the left-hand side, but it's kind of weirdly cut. But Michael Webb, like, this is fine. You've graduated what part of the lesson is this? Like, you can freeze action.
Frozen action. Yeah. So when you're going back out, what you're looking for is everything in the frame working for you and nothing in the frame taking away from it, right? So that doesn't mean that it only needs to be the guy throwing the ball and the ball or whatever, but if you're having other things in it, there needs to be a reason. They just wandered into my shot or something is not a good enough explanation, right? You have the final cut over what gets shown. You have the final cut over what gets cropped. This one certainly should have been cropped. Water polo is hard, right? You can't be in the water, right? You're on the deck. There's lots of people in front of you. You can't be like right behind the goal or you're gonna get lit up by the ball. Like I've shot water polo before and it's challenging, no doubt about it. But your job is still the same, to make interesting pictures that people can't look away from or scroll by or whatever. And to me, there's no reason for that defender to be in there when you just crop it tighter, shoot it tighter, or shoot it wider and figure out how to use everything that's going on in the pool to your advantage instead of just having it be haphazard.
Can I make it bigger? It doesn't get any bigger. It's not showing enough. It's just.
I think it's showing enough. I just think it's not a sports picture.
No, but like I don't think it's showing enough for me to actually consider it actually being a good picture at all. Even if I take the sports part out,
I don't know.
Like I want to see a bit more.
I like it because of the thought that went into it. I can definitely say that, we've talked about this before. I've talked about this in my own critiques for the people that come to my workshop. When you're shooting a silhouette, you need to be cognizant of the background, because the silhouette is going to melt into the background. If there's not enough definition, if you can't tell what's going on, and then everything falls into the background, it's hard to figure out what's going on. The way that the sun is shining through the mule's ears, I think, is really cool. That's the beginning of the picture, and it's good that he noticed what was happening here. The way that everything is arranged in the frame, like those lights, I guess it was a parking lot or something like that, that doesn't help. You never want to have the lights growing out of somebody's head. It looks like he's an alien or something, and those are the antenna. You definitely don't want that. And you want to be able to arrange things in the frame where if you're doing the silhouette, everything that you want to be silhouetted is against the light and not against whatever the, a fence or parked cars or a hill or whatever that's going to swallow up the form. Because if you're shooting a silhouette, all you have is the outline of it. And if you're allowing the background to swallow up the outline, there's not going to be anything left.
Yeah, I mean, like if this was supposed to actually work as a silhouette, like taking the sports thing out of the whole thing, I wish I could see a bit more of the horse. That's it. Because to me, I just see ears, and that's not good enough for me. But Gus is a nice guy. Scott Stockhog. I don't think he's in focus. Mm. I mean, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm not too crazy about it. So I'm all right, I'm not gonna fucking giving a standing ovation for this, but but like it's all right.
Yeah.
I don't think the focus is on him either. So
I'm not. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell at this size, but the way I'm looking at it is yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
It could just, it could be I'm not going to, whatever. It could be the compression or whatever. I'm not super worried about that. Scott will figure out the focus. I'm concerned about, like it's sloppy, right? It's the way the action is cut off on the left, the way the foot is cut off on the right. And then, just it needed to be cropped, but what I'm looking for in a running play like this, like your running back is running through the line, I want to see the details of it. I want to see the faces of the linemen. I don't need all that stuff in the background. I don't need the people standing around. I don't need the people in the stands. I don't need, what's going on the left edge or whatever. Like if you're going to shoot it, then this needs to be tighter than this. But it's still not that interesting. Like this guy is going to run the ball literally 20 times in the game, and the other team is going to run the ball 20 times in the game. And what happened? Did he jump over the pile? Did they clear a line? Was there, a convoy around this guy? This is just unremarkable. It's just unremarkable. And the light isn't good enough, and the details aren't good enough for it to be a good picture. It's just a guy in a ball.
I mean, like, I always kind of like think that if you kind of get to a point that you can kind of like take these like, action things that I don't know, like, I'd like to see a bit more.
Stop worrying about getting every play.
Or like getting like head to toe as well. Like I don't really care for head to toe things all the time. Like
you have to make choices, right? You have to say, this is what this picture is about. This is what's happening right here. This is how the light is. This is what I've been given to work with, and then take advantage of it. Too many people, and I'm not accusing Scott of this because I don't know him. I have no idea what he's got going on or whatever, but you can't just, leave work at 5 o'clock and go home and pick up your gear and show up at a game and, without having thought about it, without, just reacting to everything that you see. Just, it doesn't work like that. Your neighbors or whatever, like we were talking about at the beginning, or some anonymous critique from somebody who doesn't know anything or whatever, could look at this and say, yeah, this is really cool. I like how you can tell that the linemen are doing their job and the focus. Like I can give a good review. I can mimic somebody who's giving a good review to this picture, right? And it would sound credible, and people who didn't know any better or whatever could be taken in by it, and we could see a lot more football pictures that look like this, but I'm not going to do that. You need to make choices, right? Part of so the process to get your PRCA card is you have to turn in every picture that you make at 5 different rodeos, right? and they're looking for, did you get every ride? Can you identify the people in it? Can you, competently shoot a rodeo? But that's not how you competently shoot a rodeo. That's how you shoot a rodeo as if you were a video camera, right? You have to make choices. You have to be willing to miss things. You have to sell out. You have to shoot a longer lens than you would. You have to shoot a shorter lens than you would to do something specific, because who is going to look at 30 pictures like this if this guy gets the ball 30 times? It's just going to be unremarkable. So stop trying to shoot everything. Start getting into position where if everything works out, you're going to get a great picture instead of you're definitely going to get an average picture, because there's no hope if all you're doing is just getting every picture and they're all average. Take some chances.
It's funny because I've got no idea what's going on. And
Yeah.
I think one of those things that, like, you can't assume us to know what's going on when we really don't know what the hell's going on. So next time I like to see a bit more what, like, because I don't, like, I'm not looking at anything and I'm kind of guessing it's probably looks like it's bikes, but I have to, like, kind of make a bit of a mental leap over there, and that's
Yeah.
not really good,
So here's what I'm going to say about this. I like that he sent this. I like that he sent this. I like that we're not looking at somebody coming around a corner, all the way leaned over or something like that. So I like how he's thinking. He didn't care that this wasn't conventional. He didn't care that we wouldn't know what the hell was going on. I'm guessing it's a trail, because they couldn't possibly be riding through straight up vegetation like that, right?
It can't be.
So if that's the case, then I'm trying to think of how I would shoot this. And I would guess that this would be the best the more people were in the frame at the same time. Because if you're going for, I don't know what the hell is going on here, you really want to go for it. So if there were like 15 bikes or something like that in this, I think it would look ridiculous and I would be drawn into it. I think that having only 3 people in there and being this far away from it is not ideal. No. And I'm guessing that where I would want to be is in it. Like if those are trails, I would want to be in the vegetation in between 2 of the trails. And I would want to be using the tops of it as the bottom of my frame. And I would want to fit, a few of those people in it, or, go get really close with a wide angle lens and then just shoot one. And so like the rider is dominating the frame and everything around there is grass. And so it looks like he's literally riding through a field of grass or whatever. Like that's where it is. If you're shooting from this far away, there needs to be more people in it. Like just having 3 people in it or 2 people or 1 person in it, it's not enough. You would need a whole crowd. And if you're not going to ever get that, then I would be in it, right in it.
I mean, it'd be really cool. Like Matt said, like a lot of people are going to be there. Then on top of that, like it would be just great that if there's a lot of people cycling, that that you get to see kind of parts of the bicycle and like different people, and then it kind of adds up to like one bicycle type of thing. But honestly, good idea. It's just bad execution.
I want to say, stay with that, keep doing weird things like that, because I don't want to look at pictures like this. I have no time for this. No time for this at all.
Same shit.
Bad angle. It's, the way they're arranged isn't good. The way that tree, like this is a disaster in ways that the other one, even though it's confusing, is not. I want to see more pictures like the last one, and I want to see no pictures like this one. You're wasting our time showing us this.
The legs cut off, and it's not a good way to cut off a leg over there.
Yeah, it's such a shame because I actually do like this, but it's just inexcusable to cut the leg off like this. You just can't do it. Can't do it. There's not even any way to crop this one, unfortunately.
No, because
but he used the light. He used the light well. He arranged his background well. All of that is good. You just, I don't know. Show me a good example of breaking this rule, and we'll talk. But until then, you can't cut it off there.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
If something is in focus and something closer to you is out of focus, you need to be really careful, right? It needs to be way out of focus or it needs to be completely in focus. Like it just looks bad the way it is now. She's already thrown her punch, so the one in blue isn't helping, and the one in red is out of focus, and then there's the ref, right? So this is just you need to make a choice. You need to say, okay, I'm going to shoot really tight on one person who's facing me at a time. And then sometimes I'll get lucky because they'll be exactly the same distances away from me and they'll both be in focus. But other than that, you need in focus and out of focus. And you can't have the out of focus thing be closer to you unless it's really, really, really out of focus.
It's to me, it's the ref. And I was just wondering, like, what aperture this was. It doesn't say. Did it exif? No, it doesn't say. Yeah, it's just too bad, really. Okay. Sean, kind of like in the line of like the whole wide angle thing that the Toyin did. This is kind of like the same thing. The sky is brilliant, but there's so many things that's going wrong. Like for instance, that stupid, what is that television thing, the screen,
the scoreboard. Yeah. Yeah, you can't if you're so here's the way to tell, right? I get the urge. I do it myself. Shoot with the sunlight, the sunset or whatever in the background, right? It's going to be prettier than anything else that you shoot. But your brain can't get so locked in to the sky that you forget that there's a billboard with ads and numbers and shit like that on it.
Yeah.
And the football uprights behind the soccer goal and no action happening and no separation between the one player who's like almost completely in the shadow of the other player in the background, right? What do? Well, move around. Is there a way that you can shoot one of the sidelines with just the sky in the background? Can you get really low and just aim so that the board is just out of the frame? You have to do something to change the physics of it or the geometry of it, because where you are, you're not getting any picture of the sky without getting pictures of the ad board. You can't do it, right? That's a deal breaker. And you need to recognize that right up front, that you want a clean picture of something that's going on and the sky. And so you need to move around to get it, because this isn't that. This isn't clean. There's just way too much nonsense going on and not enough action. And I'm just guessing that you got stuck on the sky and didn't even see the scoreboard.
There's no way that the screen that's the only angle you could have actually shot this from. Like I refuse to believe it. And like Matt
it
said,
seems like this picture would have been on the sideline on the right, whatever was happening there, get really low, make the women on the team look really big, and have the sky be really high and behind them.
Yeah,
and you could
totally
have
do that.
It looks like there's trees behind the scoreboard, so maybe there's more trees on the other side. I don't know, but shooting from here, like if I had to shoot from here, like let's say I was shooting the white team or whatever, and I needed to shoot them coming at me, I would have just mentally filtered out that there was a cool sunset going on, because being here, you're just never going to get it.
Or like if this is really like wide angle lens, so that the thing is the scoreboard is a lot smaller in like like perspective wise, that would actually have worked. But man, that fucking sucks. All right, well, better luck next time, Sean. No.
So yeah, I can tell what's going on by the caption. So,
but if you read a caption,
right,
what's going on?
She feels this more than anybody who's looking at the picture. So I know what this means, right? Because I shoot rodeo. She knows what this means because she shoots rodeo, and she knows, the people who are being honored here. But that's not enough.
No.
This is not anything more than anybody with a camera phone who was on the dirt could have done. So you need to figure out how to work this in. So I know that at the end of those chaps, there are going to be boots facing the wrong way into the stirrups, right? Because that's part of the tradition. And there's probably somebody walking this horse with their head down. These are all elements that add context to the picture, where this, if you didn't know, it looks like the cowboy was done for the day and he hung his chaps over his horse and he put his hat on the saddle horn. Only people who know what's going on, or people who read your caption, are going to know what's going on. But if you shot the guy walking the horse with his head down and the boots in there with no feet in the boots or whatever, then that's context. And it's harder to do that because then you're introducing things that are in the background that maybe aren't relevant, but that's the job, right? That's part of it.
Mm.
So you're not giving us enough context here at all. And, even let's say that there's no context. Let's say it's the same exact picture, but instead there's the sunset from the last picture involved or something like that. Then maybe we could have a conversation about it. But just having those floodlights in the background and having it cut off, like the way the saddle pad is cut off, like just at the corner in the back, and the way that the horse's neck is cut off in the front, like I'm not saying there wasn't any thought involved, but it's hard to see it, right? It's hard to see that any kind of careful planning or anything like that went into this picture, because it just doesn't have enough context. And the way the background is and the way that things are cut off, it's all working against you.
Brittany, like, you have to kind of understand, like, whatever sport you're shooting, you have to ask yourself, if, like me, I've got no idea what the fuck's going on over here. I really don't. And if I have to read something to understand what's going on, the picture is a failure. There are some shots that I have actually put up on Instagram that there's a context in it that I assume that people who know the sports would actually see it and then realize, like, oh yeah, the significance of this image is blah, blah, blah. And for that kind of image, I kind of go back like a month later or 2 months later, and I just kind of delete it because it doesn't do anything to me. And I just kind of put it up because just for the sake of actually putting it up, so I thought, like, okay, well, this is a cool moment. But in reality, as a photograph, I look at it again, ask myself, does it make sense? If you don't know anything about football, if you don't know anything about rodeo, if you look at it, would you feel something as the person who's looking at it? Would you think, like, wow, that's fucking cool because of blah, blah, blah? And that's super, 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 super important. So you have to always ask yourself, does it make sense if I don't know, if that person knows nothing about rodeo? It has to be self-explanatory, because if you have to rely on the caption, that means that you're basically doing what billions of, not really billions, like 35, like, newspaper photographers that are left in this world are doing. They're basically taking it and adding caption to it, because it's a supplement. It's not the main thing. And what we're trying to teach here is to make photograph the main thing, so that there will be no need for a caption. You just look at it and say, wow, that's a beautiful shot.
That's a really great point. I think we should get into that more on the podcast.
Like, what is she using? No, it's not here. It's but I've seen this before, like, I'm not saying like you have to kind of like get close to the animal like Matt Cohen does and risk your life. I guess you can if you want to, but it's your thing. But if you're doing something, like an action shot of rodeo, the background is very important. This we've actually, like, it's not just for rodeo, for a lot of things, because what you don't want to have is like a very distracting background. So, you have to think about it. I'll leave the technical detail up to Matt, but if you look at it, like, your eyes, same thing. I just, like, we said about the black football guy with the light, the fist and everything, like, your eye goes directly to where? This one. It goes directly to the people were standing, behind the action because it's not blurry enough. There's just not enough. Like my eyes just like don't go directly to the whatever, the horse and the person who's riding the horse. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it's tough. Being able to shoot from the ground is, better than being able to shoot from the stands, but it's not as good as being able to shoot from the dirt. And she said she was outside. And it also looks like there's like boards or something. Like you can't even shoot below the lowest level of the fence because there's like that white boarding going on there. I have no idea.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's too far.
I guess the easiest place to start on this is don't shoot from right here because nothing good is going to happen. The problem is that those lights from behind are really bright and the lights behind you are really bright. So you can't even do a silhouette here because there's just too much light on him and too much light on the background. And you have those wires and the poles and everything, and then the ad boards and the people standing there and the bullfighter and the next saddlebronc guy. Like this was just a bad spot to set up. And if it was your only spot, then I understand. I've been there, right? I flew all the way to Calgary and was told you're shooting from here for 10 days. It sucks. And you can definitely use this for practice of getting to know your camera and your timing and, learning to read which way a horse is going to go and know when a cowboy is going to come off. All of that is fine for practice. But if my choice was to shoot a rodeo from right here or not shoot the rodeo, 150 times out of 100, I would not be shooting the rodeo. I couldn't do anything from right here. There's no rodeo action that's going to look good from this position.
No.
And, that sucks. But, and again, I'm not saying don't shoot it. I'm not saying don't practice because when you're breaking into rodeo, you need all the practice you can get. So really at that point, it doesn't matter whether your backgrounds are good or not. It matters whether you can learn from doing this and get better so that when you can get yourself into more advantageous positions, you can do better. But this isn't where you shoot from. And I think I'm going to I'll save this for the podcast. You guys should listen to that. We're going to record it, Monday or Tuesday or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about an upcoming assignment that I have that if I tried to shoot action would look probably a lot like this. And so I'm not going to do it. Right. I figured out a way to make the trip worth it and to get what I need and to get more than what I need on that assignment, including some things for other assignments. But I'm not going to go somewhere into a situation that's going to only result in action pictures that look like this because they don't do anything for me. And I don't know. I'm guessing that because I see other people standing around the fence that maybe you could have been shooting from there. And if you could have been shooting from there, maybe there were other places you could have been shooting from. But when you set up and you notice that there are those bright lights in the background and there's bright lights behind you, which means you can't do a silhouette and you're going to have to deal with the brightest thing in the picture not being the subject, I wouldn't shoot from there. I would say I'm going to figure something else out. Either I'm not going to shoot action and I'm going to shoot just behind the scenes, or I'm going to line up somewhere else, or I'm going to, anything. I'm just going to do anything else because I couldn't solve this problem. If somebody said, I want Matt Cohen action pictures from this rodeo and they sent me here, I have no idea what I would do, but it wouldn't be shooting from right here.
No.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this.
I don't like the little fence thing in the back, but other than that, it's fine. Like it's, it's okay. Jim.
Yeah, this is good too.
So see, what's her name? Bethany? I forgot her name. Brittany. So this to me is kind of exact opposite to what you've done.
Yeah.
So just looking at this, I can see like, oh yeah, like that guy's got cowboy boots. I wish there was a horse somewhere, even better. Like it would just be like, oh, this is
fine all by itself.
So this then like tells a bit of a story as to like what's going on. Um, there's the cowboy boots. There's kind of like that farm looking situation. I really do think that I wish there was some kind of a like whatever, like a rodeo thing going on between his legs, very small, so you can actually kind of see it.
A
No, no,
rodeo
like I'm
between
serious
his
because
legs.
like that to me, like because if I'm gonna be very nitty picky about it, if I just see this, it looks nice, but it doesn't say rodeo enough to me.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
the problem is that people aren't going to be standing like this when there is rodeo action. This is like probably a opening ceremonies or introductions or something like that. So
Mm,
you don't really get the chance to do this when when there's something going on. I would say that I enjoy this. I like how the light is. I like how the light is hitting that board. Um, I like the boots and everything. I would have made this a vertical. I would have just made it like a
there's
four
a
by
lot of
five.
other crap on the yeah.
Yeah, just just to the legs. Like not even the whole. Maybe doesn't even need to be the whole fringe or whatever, but just to the board. On the bottom, and then the legs on the top. I think that would have been better, but I like this picture. I'm fine with it. But this is what you do, when there's not an opportunity to get good, clean kind of action pictures, you put on a different lens and walk around and make pictures like this.
No.
No,
Mm,
no.
I kind of like the pattern of like just kind of random writers around, but it just doesn't do enough for me. It makes me focus really on the mountains rather than the
Yeah.
cycling. Like you don't have
This is a
cycling be there
frame.
though.
This is a frame from a video. This isn't there. I don't know. The whatever thought went into this was,
It's too much of the background and everything else, you know?
yeah, it's just, oh yeah, here's this cool background. And I'm going to put some riders in it. Not enough.
No, not enough.
Lower.
There, yeah, but aside, yeah, and I think it like these like type of shots you see during Tour de France because the people are a lot closer to the riders and they're kind of egging them on and everything. But I feel like it's just not. I want a bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, context. So shoot in
Yeah,
between, so that like you have the backs of two people's heads, or you're shooting in between their hands, clapping or something like that. Like you need to add more of it than just,
it's too
I don't know.
simple, you know.
Like
Like,
you when you start
mm,
out, you want, oh, I want that clean, unfettered access to the subject or whatever. But then as you move on, you realize that you really want to be working other elements into it, so it's not just so straight up. And what elements you could have used here are the crowd. Like I just don't think you're using the crowd enough. Like you have the hands on the upper right side, but you need more than that. Like I would want to be in the middle of all of that. Shoot, be on the ground and shooting between these people's legs or something would have been better than that. But I need more of an extreme angle. Like this is just too straight up. Just
mm.
too like I'm on the same level as everybody else, and this is what's happening. Like it needs to be more extreme looking than this.
And the last one,
No.
I
There's
can't
not enough. There's
distinguish the writer from this. Like, I have to like look at it a couple of times. Like, oh yeah, yeah,
this
he's
is
there. You
this is
know?
a good example of like he got the focus right, but there's not enough tone separation between the what's in focus and what's not in
It
focus.
blends in too much, you know,
Yeah,
into the
he needs to
background.
there either needs to be a different kind of background where he's set off from it, or the light needs to be on him and not on anything else or whatever. But the problem is that getting this picture into focus doesn't help it, because it's not the point of something being in focus so that you can tell what's the subject and what's not the subject. And when everything is falling, like look at his helmet and look at the other three helmets that are right by there, like it just makes it
Can't
very
see it.
difficult to read the picture, and it saps all of the impact that it could have.
Ah, so there it is. This is so we're part of biglensfastshutter.com.
Are we part of it?
No, we are the Big Lens Fast Shutter network. So if you came by here by accident, this is what we do. This is part of it. This is training run. So you submit a picture to us on our Flickr page, our Flickr group page, and then we will critique it once a month. So that's part of it. And the other part is we have a podcast every month and we talk about obviously sportsography and how to make you a better sportsographer. If you want more information on us or the video or the podcast, please go to biglensfastshutter.com. If you want to pay us, more than welcome. We make a living that way. We can go to patreon.com slash BLFS, and that is patreon.com slash BLFS, and that is patreon.com slash BLFS. Thank you very much for listening to us. And I guess we'll see you in probably like a week or so on the podcast because we should be recording on Monday or Tuesday. Okay, thank you and have a good evening. And I like to actually wanted to actually say that and click stop, but I couldn't do it. So I'm going to stop right now. Thanks.